I don't know what happened. Engine stopped working. Not what you want to have happen.
It started out as actually a really nice flight.
It was a beautiful day.
There was very little wind. We even forgot the windsock pole.
And it didn't even matter.
We held the windsock up and it was just limp. We set up the new drone and I had the beacon in my chest pouch. And we had him following me and I took off and I was flying.
And he was doing all of his crazy low passes and wheelies, and the quad was behaving beautifully. Everything was just flawless. Couldn't ask for a better day.
And then I took off and I went out to the mountains, the ridges that are near there. And it was fine. There was a little bit of turbulence. But when I'm flying in this area, I always make sure that I have an emergency landing spot. So every few seconds, I'm like, if the engine were to die, I would go there. If the engine were to die, I would go there. If I'm going into this area where, you know, I'm passing over a ridgeline or something, if the engine were to die, I would turn around. So I've always got a place to go. And the exercise is kind of academic because how often does your engine actually fail, right? Except it did. Came around a pass and everything was fine. The RPMs were fine, the temperature was fine, everything was fine. And then it just started sputtering and I couldn't get it to throttle up at all. It dropped down to about, I don't know, maybe 3,500 RPM, whereas normal straight and level flight is around 6,800 RPM. And so I turned away from the next mountain that I was headed towards and I headed out, tried to head back towards where Lisa was, but I couldn't get the engine to give me any power. As I was descending, I was trying to milk it, trying to get it to, you know, maybe give me some power so I could, you know, cripple my way home. But it wasn't giving me anything. So as I was about, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 feet off the ground, I just killed the engine. From where I'm sitting, what little I know about it, RPM was fine, temperature was fine, I had coolant, I had fuel, but being, you know, former IT, troubleshooting things, whenever I go in and something is broken, the first thing that I ask is what changed? And there are a couple of things that changed recently. The biggest one is I put a new battery on the quad the day before. And it had enough charge in it, but it wasn't fully charged. I don't know how the electrical system of the engine works. I know it's electronically controlled for timing and fuel injection and all that other stuff that I don't understand about engines. It has an alternator because it will charge the battery. And I know that in a regular engine, the alternator generates power for all of the electrical components. I don't know if maybe this thing being, you know, not having a full 12-volt charge in it, I don't know what it had, but when I took it off the charger still said, I would like to charge this more. Aviate, navigate, communicate. So I did what I could do to figure out, okay, can I restart this? Can I, like, what's the situation? Once I determined I'm not going any further with this, you know, started heading towards safety and called her on the radio, told her I'm experiencing engine trouble. I'm trying to make it back to you. You know, here's more or less where I'm located. Start packing up the truck. And then about 30 seconds later, I called her again. I was like, I'm not going to make it to you.
He just called me from the air that he needs to make an emergency landing. I'm out here in the foothills with my bike. Gotta get back to the truck and go pick him up.
As soon as I heard him come in on the radio, I immediately knew he had a problem because I didn't expect a call so soon. So the only reason he would contact me from the middle of his flight is if something changed. And the only thing that can change is engine trouble. So there was literally no surprise there at all.
She was very encouraging towards me. She's like, you've done this 1,000 times before, not with engine failure, but we practice engine out landings. She's like, you've done this 1,000 times before, you got it. And my response was, no, that's not why I'm calling you. Like, I know I've got it.
Get the truck.
I'm calling you to tell you to pack the truck. We learn in training that an engine failure is basically a non-event because you don't need the engine. You need the engine to climb, but you don't need the engine to fly.
Or land.
Or land. as long as you have a designated area, like I said earlier, if something happens, this is where I'm going to go, and you're aware of that at all times, then losing your engine is at most a minor inconvenience. You basically have a weed eater strapped to your back. Or a lawnmower or a chainsaw or something. So there were solar panels, there's like a solar field there, and I identified a road next to the solar panels, and I thought, okay, that's a good place to go if I can get there. And as I got closer to it, I realized that between me and the road was a fence, so that was no longer a good place to land. And so I found as clear of a place as I could find, and plopped it down.
I am on the ground. Copy.
And landed it. And I was about 5 miles away from where I had taken off. And she came and got me. There was actually a better place that I could have landed, but I was a little fixated on the nice road from the solar panels, and I had gotten that would have been perfect.
I tried to make it to a road. I saw that the road had a fence. I realized that wasn't a good idea. I got power lines over here, so I just put it down in the best place that I could.
By the time I got close enough to it to see the fence, I was no longer able to go back to the secondary location. So I had to land somewhere in between the two of them. The best option wasn't that great of an option because we still have bushes and cactuses and like it's cacti. Because we still have bushes and cacti.
Had a nice tree help stop me. Sorry there, bush or whatever you are.
And there's no really clear place to like land and have a nice rollout. It was subconscious. And I am very pleased with my response to the whole thing. From the instant that it happened until even afterwards, when she came and picked me up, she's like, "Are you nervous? Like, are you shaken up?" I was completely calm through the entire thing. It was almost the same as doing any other normal landing. I was like, oh, I don't have an engine. Okay, I'm gonna land now. I came in, proper flare, a little bit of a turn and lined it up. I don't remember consciously saying, this is where I'm going to go. I don't remember doing any navigation to make sure that I can land in that spot. I just did.
Fortunately, we'll be going to California next week, and we'll give it to them and be like, what the f***?
Most likely the next flight that I do will be at the Black Hawk Ranch. So I'll just be in the pattern, flying around the runway for 2 hours. When I'm up there, it's amazing. It's amazing. Climbing up to several thousand feet and then just killing my engine. Like just nothing but me and the wind. It's like having dreams where you're flying. And you're kind of aware that you're not supposed to be doing this. Like it shouldn't be possible that you're doing this, but you are, and it's amazing. If somebody were to join the sport or was thinking of joining the sport, a video like this or a story like this should not dissuade them. It is in no way reflective of the dangers of paramotoring. It is still completely safe, and as is evident by the fact that with no engine, I was able to glide a significant distance and safely land in a scrubby, unpleasant area with no damage to the equipment, no damage to myself, and just continue on with my day. The only injury that I actually have is I cut my hand open, but that didn't happen during the landing.
Let's see it. Let's see the boo-boo. Let me clean it. Dude, you just landed from the sky with no engine, and you're crying about a little scrape on your hand. How'd you scrape your hand anyway?
When I was walking out to the road.
Radios are fundamental.
Radios
are super important. Yesterday, we were having radio issues during the first flight when we were flying with the drone.
He had only one-way communication. He could hear me perfectly, but he was coming in distorted. So everything he was saying to me, I couldn't make out a single word. So I would respond back, still negative contact. If you agree with me, wiggle your feet. If you want to land, land. And just give him as much information from on the ground as possible. Finally, he landed so we could troubleshoot the radio problem. And we fixed the radio, and thank God we did, because that was a really important part of what was to come. Yeah.
Landing for me is resetting the wing after landing takes time and it's pain. So the radios were important enough that I was willing to go through that pain of resetting the wing and spending 20 minutes before I could launch again to fix the radios. So radios, I think, are important, or any reliable source of communication between yourself and either other pilots or somebody on the ground. We have a truck that can go pretty much anywhere. If I can land there, then we should be able to get the truck there.